All right, good evening. It's 6 p.m. City Council meeting Tuesday, September 26th. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Join me in standing for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we thank you for the day, and we thank you for the beauty of it. We thank you for the opportunity we have to serve this city and its residents, help guide our conversations and discussions and decisions that we make here tonight. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nicole?
Councilmember Bogosian?
Here.
Councilmember Hahn?
Here.
Councilmember Myers?
Here.
Councilmember Ward?
Here.
Councilmember Streetman?
Here.
Councilmember Popson?
Here.
Councilmember Anderson?
Here.
Councilmember Pierce?
Here.
Mayor Pounds?
Here.
You have a quorum?
Thank you. Next item is citizens' comments.
Randy Bell?
Hi. Just want to say from 2018 to 22, we spent 4 years on this council striving to improve resident engagement and productive conversation. So now we've got a majority council discouraging resident participation, refusing public debate, opting for no response to the Island Eye, not attending the public forum on 9/28. So you got to ask what's happening. I mean, that's a big question. So let's discuss facts. The proposed STR referendum does not impact city revenue, period. Despite the nonsense in direct mailings and online on social media, the budget remains intact with no reduction of city revenues. And without diving into posted council member misinformation, tourism does not drive 80% of the city budget. So if this nonsense is to be believed, might I suggest an open FOIA-based discussion? We've got 2 CPAs sitting up here on this council that are running for office. I'm pretty sure the public would be very interested to hear spirited debate on the budget and the content that represents 80% of tourism dollars. So property taxes are not going up either based on short-term rentals. Assessed property values cannot increase more than 15% as state law over a 5-year period unless that property is sold. South Carolina Code 6-1-320 also addresses when taxes can go up. Millage rates can go up when you have a population increased or CPI adjusted inflation allows you to do that looking at a 3-year rolling average. This council tonight is going to vote to not raise taxes again. Good move, by the way. I'm pulling from my brain, when I sat up here as the vice chair of Ways and Means, I did the math. 500,000 of assessed value, if we raised to the maximum, was about $60 per 500,000 of assessed value. So when everybody goes, oh my God, your property taxes are going up, they're not, right? So let's stop spreading nonsense. It's not productive. And a reminder for those that choose to use social media to attack people that haven't lived here their whole lives. 50% of this island has lived here for less than 10 years. 60% or 66% less than 16 years. Being here a long time doesn't grant special privilege. It certainly doesn't give you the rights to make derogatory comments online. The only constant is change, and history has proven the negative consequences of those who fail to recognize that fact. And lastly, upon passage of this proposed ordinance, it can be changed immediately. This council has the authority to look at it and work on it and do something productive for the community and bring everybody together instead of continuing to spread this divisive nonsense that's out there all over the place. Thank you.
Mr. Santiago? Mr.
Tony.
Santiago?
Tony Santiago, 60 Point. I really am not here to speak to the council, no disrespect at all. I am here to speak to the citizens. We deserve better. We know that. The divisiveness that's going on here is unprecedented. I've never seen 30 years owning property, 24 years living here. We're adults. We do not need to sit one that shouldn't be isolated and reprimanded for needing what they need, and they paid them for it in their taxes. We should not be blaming our neighbors for our traffic and congestion. Again, the argument that an SDR is less of an impact on this island than a person visiting for a day is ludicrous. One car packed with as many people as possible because we have so limited parking, because so many people want to be here. They park, they leave, they go home. SDRs bring 5, 6 people, cars in, and they go back and forth all over the place. They have to bring in what? Bikes, golf carts. We can go on the list. There are breakdowns on the HVAC system. Those people have to come out all day long, all week long with these people, because these people pay a lot of money. They want their air conditioning, want all this. The traffic is just exorbitant compared to a day, as we call them, in a derogatory way, trippers, but our neighbors, okay? So we then want to go and pit, as Randy put it, those who have been here forever versus those who are new. How many more people can we pick on and try to divide? We're doing it in this policy concept that somehow we're going to carve out 1,020, yes, 1,020 units from Wild Dunes. These are condos and what they call purpose-built. We just passed a PDD to limit 351 units. Now we're going to open up 1,020 to have an exemption around the zoning ordinance and put them at the end of the island where the most traffic will come back and forth. It's crazy. Enough's enough. I don't want to see people taking pictures of the gates where I live and pointing to where my other gate is and telling people that's where this guy lives. I don't want him going out to the South Island and doing it either. I think it's wrong. I would never do it. I will never do it. Look, we can argue, we can have different opinions, but we can be adults about it. We need a council that is reasonable, measured, fact-based. We need people who do their homework, come prepared for meetings, have thought things through, and look to unify this island and stop thinking about ways to divide it. We have the opportunity, the light's at the end of the tunnel. It's called November 6th. I hope everybody comes out and votes, and whether you vote for who I would vote for, I don't care. Come vote. Let's find out what kind of island we really are.
Mr. Santiago, that's your 3
Thank you
minutes.
so much, Nicole. I wish everybody the best wishes, and please do not lose sleep over this divisiveness. It is based upon fear of losing power and losing relevancy. That's why people do it. Don't buy into it. Thank you.
Mr. Klaus?
Al Klaus, 5'8", 202 pounds, 3 Grand Pavilion. Meeting number 23 since 4/13 of 22 regarding noise ordinance and nuisance. Requesting for the 16th time to provide us written assurances regarding enforcement of Section 925BC. Amplified music from Sweetgrass has resulted into a nuisance which has been perpetrated by the city as a result of not enforcing the ordinance. The Empire continues to violate the above section. The Administration Council continues to perpetrate their actions. No one has stepped up and directed the Empire to discontinue taunting us. August livability statistics, noise, 17 complaints, 0 citations. Respectfully, our interpretation of the above section differs from Mr. Kerr's. Curious to know if the city has received a response from the Low Boys or Mr. Dart regarding our Back to the Future proposal dated 9/12/23. Their failure to do so is a big red flag. Planning Commission, 9/13/23. Chief Cornett eloquently explained the definition of enforcement. To paraphrase Chief Cornett, when a police officer appears at a call complaint, this is part of enforcement. Respectfully, we and a growing number of residents on this island vehemently disagree with Chief Cornett's definition. Our consensus, appearing at the site of the complaint is part of the job. Enforcement is what you do when you get there. Chief Cornett cautioned the Planning Commission regarding the noise ordinance, citing someone is currently contesting a citation. Respectfully, Chief Cornett, you are fear-mongering. We do not have people contesting speeding tickets, parking tickets, DUI tickets, drug possession. Big deal. This is part of it. Frankly, based on the track record regarding noise ordinance citations, very little to worry about. Planning Commission comments per Mr. Tim Hamudi. Sweetgrass Inn is not a hotel. It is an event center. Per Mr. Ron Denton, Charleston County currently requires 8 acres for event centers. June 22, we requested noise abatement study. Second time, we requested again in November of 22. Given the Empire opted out for a sound study is very revealing. Our livability since April 21st is not what you would prescribe to your mom and dad. The residents deserve criteria, which was previously butchered by the Public Safety Committee by a 2-to-1 vote. Please remember, reading decibels requires the understanding we have an event center located in a residential neighborhood, a new standard on IOP. Love the crows. Thank you.
That's it? Thank you. Next item is special presentations, special recognition of Ben Allen, who was named Surfer of the Week by the National Scholastic Surfing Association. Ben's parents, Matt and Kathleen, y'all can sit there if you want. You want to stay there? All right. I'm just going to read a couple of things real quick. We've got a nice certificate for Ben to add to his trophy case. So Ben is age 19, grew up on 26th Avenue and learned to surf at an early age. I think it was around 3 or 4 if I read the article right. Ben's competed with Eastern Surfing Association locally and in North Carolina. He's been sponsored by Parrot Surf Shop since he was 11. Ben is now a sophomore at Flagler College studying coastal environmental science. He won the most recent National Scholastic Surfing Association Collegiate Surf Competition, beating out 47 competitors, and was honored as Surfer of the Week. When asked what his desired fantasy superpower would be, Ben said breathing underwater, as it would make it easier to surf the big waves. Ben is unfortunately a school, or fortunately if you're paying his bills, I guess. But his parents, Matt and Kathleen Allen, are here tonight to accept this recognition on Ben's behalf and tell him how proud his hometown is of him. Good stuff. Thank you all for being here. Next item is approval of previous meetings minutes. We've got city council meeting on August 22nd, special city council workshop on September 12th, and committee meeting minutes are attached.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any edits, comments, changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item, no old business, new business. Most of these we've discussed in some detail at a workshop meeting. So if a resident didn't see workshop, you can go back and get a lot more detail, especially on some of these budget items. Our first item in your packet is a consideration of recommendation from the Administration Committee to award the Spirit of the Island Award to Susan Hill Smith.
Motion to approve.
Second.
John, anything you want to add from the Admin Committee? I've got the write-up, I can read it, or?
Yeah, you can read it, but I mean, the committee unanimously, I think the consensus was we couldn't think of anybody more worthy. I mean, Susan's passion for the environment and her love for the island show through what she's done with the beach cleanups and, you know, a lot of other efforts as well. So she's very well deserving.
Yeah, and we had, this was a resident nominated form, and I'll just read it real quick. Isle of Palm's most valuable asset is our beach, and no one on this island protects our treasured resource better than Susan Hill Smith and the cleanup crew. I've been walking at Front Beach daily for many years. Prior to Susan's cleanup campaign, our beach and our coastal wildlife was in peril. Thanks to Susan's steadfast efforts, our island's treasures are being protected. No one exemplifies the spirit of IOP more than Susan Hill Smith. So we've got, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I received an email from Susan, and Desiree received one too, I believe it was yesterday, and she requested that the award be given to the Isle of Palms cleanup crew for the entire group instead of herself. I don't know what that means procedurally here. I just wanted to pass that along.
Yeah, and I think we all got a copy of that. It was, but again, I hate to go against a resident nominated request.
Right.
We'll do this recognition at the October council meeting. Susan's out of town, so.
And just as a reminder as well, when Susan Hill Smith was on council, she spearheaded the effort to create the Environmental Advisory Committee, which a lot of their recommendations have been adopted by council. So I just wanted to mention that she was also instrumental in the creation of that committee.
Yeah. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So next item, we did have quite a bit of conversation at workshops. We'll run through just from a voting standpoint. Item B, consideration of recommendation of award of a contract to air cleaning specialist in the amount of $97,775 for the installation of direct source vehicle apparatus exhaust capture systems at Fire Station 1 and 2. And you can see where this money's coming from, a budgeted number of $200,000 with a $98,000 expense.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item C, consideration of recommendation of award of a sole source contract to Coastal Science and Engineering for the following projects. You can see those 3 different scopes for 3 different projects. Budgeted number, you can see where that's coming from for $255,000.
Motion to approve.
Can I just ask something here?
We get a second.
Second.
I thought that we, during that discussion there, we talked about this concept of sole sourcing and whether the requirements, but on the second item B, I thought that staff was going to go back and look at that there was a general understanding that Coastal Science has the history of managing our beach, and there's certain projects that would serve us well by having them continue on that, which I think A was for sure, or number 1 rather, and number 3, scope C. But scope B was more of a very generic kind of searching for compatible sand that could be put out to bid, just to make sure it's a $168,000 project to make sure we're getting the best value for the city. And I don't know the outcome of that, but it appears that it's still back on here as sole source. So I'd like to at least hear the rationale behind that.
Yeah, I mean, we did look at it and understand that certainly would be a path. We looked at the last time that the city bid out a mostly general scope of work associated with the island-wide monitoring. What we know to be true was exemplified in that process. They were almost half more economical than the other 2 firms that submitted a proposal for that work. And I anticipate the same thing being the case. Usually when we have engineers working with the city for a long time, they've done so much work that a new contractor would have to do in order to be up to speed with the condition of the beach, the dynamic components of the beach, particularly down this end. Therefore, certainly could be a path, and that is, if that is the decision of council to just approve scope A and C and bid out B, certainly we would go down that path. I don't think that the city is going to get any savings by going with a different contractor. I think if we're looking at their level of expertise and knowledge, they're certainly qualified to do the work. And I think it would be, we would see that in any responses to that proposal. I do also want to say that going through the RFP process, certainly we do it all the time. I are on the side of doing that more than others. This is in my mind, a very critical project that I would not like to delay. And having the same contractor pursue all 3 consistently, I think we would have some economies of scale at that point and potentially some savings. And I wouldn't want to delay the progress on that project by going down a 3-4 month process. So that's my take. Professional services are exempted from the code and certainly available to the city to do it, but it's ultimately up to you all to decide if you want to approve it or not.
I mean, the request out of workshop was to take a step back and see if it would be beneficial. Sounds like we've done that, so.
I would, just to add on to the points made on that task, part of that task is coordinating with SHPO, and CSE was involved, and that's the
State Historic Preservation Office, and this is the state agency that we would have to coordinate to allow the state for the state to allow the city to harvest sand from the area on the north end that was designated as a historic place. So there's a lot of historical knowledge just on that project alone from 2018, that it would be difficult to bring somebody in to the fold at that point to do that piece.
Yeah, that was just, that they have the history of 2018 on dealing with SHPO, and SHPO didn't allow us to use a section of sand that they are saying now we really kind of have to go, we really need that section of sand. So there's history there, there's been coordination, they've already had contact about potential programs that would allow SHPO to grant us permission to use that sand. They're already kind of halfway down that road from their work in 2018.
How long would it take to bid out B, section B? Item B? I mean, would it really take?
I think you said 3 to 4 months,
We
right?
would typically at least 3 months. We give ourselves 30 days to prepare an RFP. It's usually out for about 4 or 5 weeks. Then you have to go through the process of
And the timing of the
reviewing.
implementation on this particular section is when?
We have it budgeted in FY '24, so we would start immediately. We did discuss, obviously, we know that beach restoration and beach restoration efforts are an ongoing effort for the city. We could certainly, before any future project, make it a point to bid it out and not sole source at that point. I think this shoreline management project is connected to the 2018 project. The Army Corps project that we're hopefully getting ready to execute end of this year it's coming up. Island-wide monitoring, we'll have an opportunity to bid that out after the 5-year contract expires next year. So I think there'll be opportunities for the city to explore other contractors at that point. I think with these particular projects, having the same contractor, the same engineer that helped design them and helped manage it would be important.
Yeah, and my only point is that we may go with CSC, but I think in any procurement, when you have these kinds of dollars that we're looking to expend, it never hurts to go out, especially for items that can be done by other vendors. Even if we've had a preferred vendor historically, going out to bid can often get you a better price. So, and I know it's not all about price, it's about capabilities, but from what I understand, B can also get, be done by other vendors as well. So is our policy to just, if we can go out for bid, we do, or we may not because it's a sole source exemption?
No, frankly, I can't think of a whole lot of contractors that we hire sole source. Drainage projects, we do go out for bid. I've referred to the RFP page on the website. You can see all of the ones that we've done every year, even those that don't necessarily require it. I think it's more on a case-by-case basis, and just having somebody who has the knowledge, the history, and the expertise on our particular beach, I think it's essential.
Jan?
First of all, I do agree going out to bid is a good idea. However, in this case, as a consultant, proposing on projects, when we know that we have a consultant on board we are very satisfied with, they've been incredibly responsive to us. They were here the day that we had the last storm and had options for us on the table as soon as we wanted to, and were able to also pivot to what the new conditions were when the hurricane came through. So I think we have someone who's satisfied, that we are satisfied with, that has been incredibly responsive. I think it is a good idea periodically to check to make sure that we're getting good pricing from him, which I think we are at this point for the reasons you've said.
And we did in 2019.
And we did several years ago, so I think within the next couple of projects, we certainly go out to bid to see. There's a good chance nobody else is going to bid against them because they can't beat their fees. So we need to test that to make sure it's true. But let's let these projects go forward in the next time or two. make sure that we're still on track with them.
Rusty?
Yeah, thank you. We've been partnered with them since 2007. They know our beaches better than anybody. They've done good work in the past. I'm not against us bidding out in the future or whatever, but no delay on this project as far as I'm concerned. I think we ought to award this and move forward.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item is consideration of an award of a contract in the amount of $156,700 to Thomas and Hutton for the design and permitting of the Waterway Boulevard multi-use elevation project.
So this is the project for, yes, the Waterway Boulevard Multi-Use Path Elevation Project. This project, the city submitted a grant application to the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant. We expect award of that grant the first quarter of 2024. We were authorized to engage a contractor to perform design, engineering, and permitting as a pre-award costs. We did bid this out and got two proposals. Thomas and Hutton was the lowest bid for the engineering and the design, engineering, and permitting piece. They were the ones that performed the preliminary design on this project and also the feasibility study. They helped us develop the grant application, so they have a unique understanding about the project. So we are recommending approval of the design, engineering, and permitting scope for Thomas and Hutton.
I make a motion that we approve, Mayor.
We need a
I'm sorry,
motion.
I make a motion that we approve.
Thank you. Second. And Desiree, we got approval from the grant folks that we assume we're going to get a grant from first quarter, that we could go ahead down this project without putting our grant at risk.
That's correct. As long as we follow our procurement code and the federal procurement guidelines, then we would be in good shape to have this approved when the grant is approved. It is within the threshold that was approved as pre-award costs. Actually to the penny, I believe, $156,700. The other proposal was $161,000, so a little bit over. But yes, we have to show the granting agency that the city did the due diligence and the reasons why this firm is being selected as part of the RFP process.
Are there questions, comments? We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Consideration of recommendation from the Public Services and Facilities Committee of approval of a change order from Thomas and Hutton in the amount of $42,000 for construction phase services for the 30th Avenue and Forest Trail outfall projects.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item F, report of an award of a contract to Love Christmas Lights in the amount of $24,225 for holiday lights and tree installation at Front Beach and storage. And Desiree, we don't need a motion on this. This is just a report outright.
That is correct. This is a report of a budgeted expenditure. The city did collect 3 different bids from different vendors. These were the lowest bid. They are going to be installing all of the lights along Front Beach. They're going to be lighting up the 2 oak trees at the end of the connector, which we've never done before. I'm really excited about it. And they are going to, they're going to store all that equipment for us. So we'll have some cost savings associated with not having to keep our storage unit and just personnel costs. We used to cobble together a team from every department as we could to do the installation, and sometimes it was challenging if we don't have everybody on staff, if they're called on a call to do other things. So this time, we'll get it all done right before the holiday festival and have it all buttoned up before then.
Thank you. Just a quick shout out for the chamber. I don't know if you've noticed the cafe lights on Front Beach. They look nice, and that was a Chamber of Commerce project for the IOP. Item G, consideration of approval for fiscal '24 millage rate of .0223. Parenthetical, which should be all caps and bold, no property tax increase.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I think you really have to vote on this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Last item H, consideration of donation of $50,000 to the Emmanuel 9 Memorial to be paid from our interest income. We talked about this at our workshop. Our interest income runs just shy of $200,000 a month, so just went ahead and pegged it here. In our workshop, we had conversations anywhere from $15,000 to about $100,000 donation, but just needed to start, get something on the agenda for.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mayor, can I have a question?
Yes, sir.
And this is more of an accounting question, but on this accrued interest, where does that interest flow in terms of income? Does it flow back to the funds in proportion to their principal amounts?
I think they'll go to general
It's
fund.
other, yeah, it's other
General
income in
fund.
the general fund.
I think
all of it
actually,
does?
interest shows in the budget in each individual funds.
So it goes back to each individual fund? Scott?
I don't know that I don't know that it allocates there cash account wise. Might be a question for Deborah, but I don't. But in the budget, the interest income is shown individually by each individual fund.
So my question is for
I
the
know the
funding of it,
income,
what
but not-
actual account is it coming out of? Is it
General
the
fund.
General fund? So it is
Correct.
out of the general fund, okay.
Yeah, thank you, John,
Yeah.
for that clarification.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our interest hits every month as other income in the general fund.
Yeah.
Whether we allocate it out or not, I don't know for sure.
It's much higher than it was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Because now we're getting right at 5.5%, I believe.
But I have to remind people, I mean, maybe it's a little offset, but we're getting higher interest for a reason, right? Because,
Got a little inflation?
yeah, and so when we go to spend that dollar, it's going to get a lot less for goods and services than when we were generating 0.5% of interest. So it's not like it's free money
No, of
for
course
us. But that's kind of off the subject a little bit.
Rusty, did you have a comment?
I do,
Okay,
thank you.
go
So we're earning about $20,000 per month, is that what you said?
180,000 a
180 a
month.
month.
180,000 per month, okay. So we're considering a donation of $50,000. I would recommend we consider $100,000 on this. And the reason that I would propose this is, we're talking about the Emanuel 9 Memorial. We're talking about a tragedy that happened in the Low Country area that other communities are participating in. They're giving money on behalf of this for the memorial. And I think with us doing as well as we're doing, that another $50,000 to this great cause here would be the right thing for us to do on the island.
Is that an amendment, Nicole? Is that how we need to?
Well, I mean, if he wants to say he's going to make an amendment.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion to approve $100,000 for the Emanuel 9 Memorial.
Second.
So now there's discussion on the amendment, or you vote on the amendment first.
I think we need to look at this on Councilman Streetman's putting us in a bad position now of having to sound like we don't care about a really wonderful thing that the city and the community is doing. And I totally think that we do need to be as supportive of this as we can within reason. And we looked at it per capita at the last meeting. If we wanted to be in step per capita with somewhere like Mount Pleasant, that's where we came up with the number of, I think, 15, 12, something like that. And we all kind of thought that that sounded low, so we said, okay, 50 for a community our size is a very generous donation. And I just think that trying to make ourselves look like, I don't know.
I've got a
something.
word of rebuttal for that, Mr. Mayor.
In
I'm not
order
trying to make, I'm
just
not
to
trying
throw
to
more
make
money out of it,
anybody
I-
look bad, particularly the city.
I won't think I was done speaking. I just don't think it's necessary. I think 50,000 is a very nice, generous donation. I don't think we're going to be scoffed at for that. So I think 50 was a good number.
Okay, thank you. I resent the insult because I didn't mean it personally. Is any kind of insult to anyone or saying that the city needed to do anything other than to step up and make sure that we are honoring the Emanuel 9 Memorial because of the tragedy that happened. And I think our city's a rich little city. Now, will it last forever? I don't know. But we have the funds, we have the opportunity to give more on this than $50,000. And I think it would be a good gesture on our part and a humanitarian gesture to do just that. So That's why I'm in favor, and I'm not casting any shadow or aspersion on anyone or the city itself and trying to put us in a bad light. And I'm not trying to grandstand on this either. This is something I think is the right thing to do.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John. You were going to say something.
No, go ahead.
No. I have to chime in with Katie. I think that, and I think Mr. Hahn had suggested 15,000. If we're looking at a parity contribution to Mount Pleasant, who I think is contributing 250,000, have 100,000, roughly 100,000 residents, I think 50,000 is a very, very generous contribution. I think that, taking the money that we think is coming in on the interest, I think to Councilman Bogosian's point, that isn't free money. It is going to be allocated. We nearly had a $900,000 scare here with our drainage project, which isn't out necessarily in the public, that we were going to have to come up with that money, but was covered with a grant. So we do not have an endless amount of money. The other thing I think we need to realize is that if we look at all of the revenues coming in this year and all of the expenditures going out, we're actually spending, and this is without the $1.9 million dock, we're upside down $641,000. So we're actually spending more money. We're actually going into the coffers that we have. So it's not like we are a strong financial city. We're not a rich little city that has an endless bucket of money. So again, I don't want to be put in a bad spot, but I think 50,000 is an extremely generous contribution. I think it's commensurate with the size of our municipality, and I would support 50,000.
Kevin, did you have something?
No, sir.
Okay.
Good.
Yep. John, did
No, I don't have anything more to add.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, I mean, I know Rusty's hard, I think, and I don't, it's just a suggestion. I mean, you can vote for or against it, either way you want to do it, but, I suggested the interest income, we could easily take it out of our fiscal year surplus that we're getting ready to have to decide what we need to do with, and that's going to be about $1 million. Let me finish. That'll be about $1.2 million, $1.3 million, some number that we'll need to allocate, and typically that'll go to beach renourishment or disaster recovery or leave it in general fund or kind of wherever. So I don't know that it matters what bucket it comes out of personally. And I think our city has been ultra blessed. I agree. It's not a never-ending bucket of money by any stretch, and I think we've been very good stewards. We've got $41 million in the bank roughly that's generating this interest income. I think it would be a nice gesture from a broader community of the Low Country, 50 or 100. I'd be tickled with 100 that we would get it. We were contacted by John Darby, who runs the beach company, to consider making a contribution. The state's doing $4 million, city of Charleston's doing $4 million, Mount P's doing $250, North Charleston's doing $250, county's doing $1 million. So I don't think it's certainly not going to hurt our city to do something. Scott?
Yeah, I would say, if we are looking to try to team for $100,000, why don't we ask the CVB, who we're going to send about $1.1 million, $1.2 million over to maybe cover that extra 50. We chip in 50, they chip in 50. That way we're not coming out of our pocket an incremental 50. I think, Rusty, you're on the Board of Trustees over at the CVB. Is that worth even exploring to try to get a matching contribution so that we end up getting $100,000? I think they're already maybe contributing some, but we do contribute an incredible amount of money. That way, we meet that $100,000 contribution. We just are able to share it with the CVB.
I guess that can be a follow-up conversation. I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
I would just like to say, to me, it's not a matter of whether we should do it or we shouldn't do it. I think this is talking of relative how much we should do, and I think that the 50,000 to me sounds the right number. It sounded, about the right number last time relative to what others are doing. It's a very important, memorial. I just don't think we are fortunate to have our coffers stocked, but they're stocked for a reason. And as I said before, we don't, it's not free money that we're getting on interest. We are running at a slight deficit according to the budget, and I do think that $50,000 is the right amount.
So we need to vote on the amendment first?
Yes.
Yeah, the amendment
Well,
first.
just one
Oh, sorry,
question.
Judy.
Did I hear you correctly? A couple minutes ago, you said that we're projected a surplus of 1.2 million
I think that's, yeah, rough number.
revenues over
Yeah,
expenditures.
unaudited at this point, yeah.
Unaudited, yeah, 1.2 million surplus. Okay.
For fiscal '23.
Right.
Yeah, not for 24.
Right.
Do a roll call vote.
Sure. So this is first, Kevin, just so you can hear, the first vote is on the amendment to increase the amount to $100,000, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Bogosian?
Nay.
Nay. Councilmember Hahn?
Nay.
Councilmember Myers?
Nay.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman?
Aye.
Councilmember Popson?
Aye.
Councilmember Anderson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pierce?
Nay.
Mayor Pounds?
Aye.
Motion passes.
No.
No.
Yes.
Motion did not
Motion
pass.
failed. Didn't it?
What did you say?
No,
No,
it did pass.
passed.
It
It
did
did
pass.
pass.
It did
It
pass.
passed.
Yeah, 5-4.
Good thing I'm not the treasurer. And then what do we do with the original motion?
I don't know that we have to
It's-
vote on it.
No, we
have to vote on
It's
this
irrelevant at
amended to
this point, right?
100,000.
Mac,
The original motion was 50, right? We've amended it to 100.
original motion was 50.
motion as amended.
Yeah, approve
Okay.
the motion as amended.
As amended. Do you want me to do a roll call on
Sure.
that as well?
Can you restate it?
The motion as amended, so the donation would be $100,000 to the Emmanuel Line Memorial.
All right.
Is there, you all want to keep it coming out of interest income or just the positive net result at the end of the FY '23?
I think the motion's for
Interest income, so keep it that way? Okay.
We go this way.
You should
Councilmember,
do alphabetic, don't you? That's really what you're supposed to do.
we've had that
No.
conversation already.
Oh, well, and what was the outcome of that?
I lost. Councilmember Pierce.
Nay.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Myers.
No.
Councilmember Hahn.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogosian.
Nay.
Mayor Pounds.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is boards and commissions report. Board of Zoning Appeals, no minutes. Planning Commission, minutes are attached. Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, no meeting in September. Environmental Advisory Committee, minutes are attached. Item 8, ordinances, resolutions, and petitions. Second reading, none. First reading, none. We have a resolution and proclamation for the IOP Connector Run on October 7th, and that is in your packet. So we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Waive reading.
Waive the reading.
Waive the reading.
Thank you. And a second.
Got it.
Question? Do you have a question?
Yeah, that's Carlin.
Okay.
That's all.
Questions or comments on the resolution? It's for amplified music and alcohol. We do this every year for this event. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Yeah, just,
Quick item of update from.
quick item update, at the Carter meeting last, Wednesday. There was reported that ridership this year was up 92% over the previous year. And so, everybody is on board with it. We had an enthusiastic response from, Mount Pleasant. And I'm trying very hard to get them to put in a bus stop shelter for when it's raining or if it's extremely hot, right there where they stop on 14th Avenue. And that's all I had. Appreciate it. But it was a 92% increase.
That's incredible.
That's great.
The trend is awesome. Definitely good.
I'd like to say something on that, if I can, quickly. As a
Very.
transportation planner, it takes a while to build ridership on bus routes, and I think we're doing really well with the future having even more opportunities, so I applaud the way it's going.
Yeah, I think the final numbers were 800-ish riders.
792.
I was rounding.
Well, you missed it.
There being no further business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.